When I reviewed the OnePlus 6T earlier this year, I was left a little disappointed. It turned out to be weaker than its predecessor in a lot of ways. The in-display fingerprint reader was slow, and the selfie cam performance left a lot to be desired. Fortunately, these problems are no more on the OnePlus 7 Pro, and it even comes with a few unique features that make it an unlikely multimedia beast. It's easily my favorite OnePlus phone to date, and perhaps even my favorite smartphone of the year. For the first time, OnePlus is releasing two flagship models at the same time, the 7 and the 7 Pro, both of which pack Qualcomm's Snapdragon 855 chipset and speedy UFS 3.0 memory chip. This is the higher-end 7 Pro, which has a larger, sharper and faster notchless display, along with a bigger battery with faster charging. Meanwhile, the 7 is almost identical to the 6T on the outside, with the same 6.4-inch Full HD Plus display and the same dewdrop notch at the top. I reckon folks who are using the 6T will want to jump straight to the 7 Pro. But starting at $669, it's also OnePlus's most expensive phone ever, which is a little odd given that the OnePlus brand used to be synonymous with price performance. There is the cheaper OnePlus 7, which is effectively a new and improved 6T, but it will only be available in Europe and Asia. For now, let's focus on the 7 Pro. For the first time, OnePlus is finally pushing into the Quad HD Plus resolution with this 6.67-inch curved screen. It's also a fluid AMOLED panel, which means it has a rare 90Hz refresh rate that makes everything you do look silky smooth. Sure, it's particularly noticeable when I'm playing games, but even the system interface and web browsing benefit from this boost as well. Once I got used to this, I felt odd whenever I switched back to older phones. They definitely felt laggy. Another main upgrade here is the in-display fingerprint reader. What ended up being a letdown on the 6T has evolved into an advantage on the 7 series, mainly thanks to a larger sensor. The unlock speed on my 7 Pro is comparable to what I'm used to on my Vivo NEX Dual Display Edition, and it's also noticeably faster than what I get on the Huawei P30 Pro, so kudos to OnePlus for finally cracking it. OnePlus has also thrown stereo speakers along with Dolby Atmos surround sound for this series. In the case of the 7 Pro, these go well with its fluid AMOLED screen which handles HDR10+, thus making my Netflix experience the more enjoyable, especially with HDR shows like Altered Carbon and Stranger Things. As mentioned earlier, the 7 Pro screen doesn't have a dewdrop notch. Instead, we get a pop-up camera which uses a newer 16-megapixel sensor, and I'm happy to report that my selfies here are much better than what I got on the 6T. But of course, if you find this new camera to be showing too much detail, there's always beautification mode to the rescue. The 7 Pro's pop-up camera retracts automatically as soon as the phone detects a fall, thus lowering the chances of drop damage. The pop-up mechanism has also been tested to withstand over 300,000 times of usage, which should last for many years. However, I do wonder if dust and liquid will get inside the pop-up camera's compartment. On the other side of the 7 Pro, you find that OnePlus has also joined this growing trend of triple cameras. Here we have a 48-megapixel main camera, an 8-megapixel 3x zoom telephoto camera, and a 16-megapixel ultra-wide camera. Compared to the 6T, the main camera on my 7 Pro handles much better HDR photography, and in general producing a more accurate white balance while tightening highlights and shadows. In particular, the 7 Pro did well with greenery subjects, while the Huawei P30 Pro's comparison shots looked washed out, and the iPhone XS Max's photos were less authentic to what I saw. My night shots look clean and accurate too, partly thanks to the pixel binning method applied to the main 48-megapixel sensor, and partly thanks to the optical stabilization on both the main camera and the telephoto camera. I was also able to take some nice close-up shots of some busy bees using the Pro mode. As for video, my 4K 60 frames per second clips looked stunning when played back on this Quad HD Plus Fluid AMOLED screen. That said, I did notice a slight loss in detail compared to my 6T daytime shots, especially the text on distant billboards. This is likely the downside of pixel binning. It should also come as no surprise that the Nightscape mode on the 7 Pro is still no match to Huawei's Night mode and Google Pixel's Night Sight. But unless you're in a pitch black room, the 7 Pro's normal camera mode should do the job. In terms of look and feel, the 7 Pro has the same excellent build quality and design as its recent predecessors. But of course, for a $669 phone, I wouldn't expect anything less. I love this nebula blue model with its frosted glass back over a gradient blue paint job, and while it weighs a little over 200 grams, I'm okay with that. The phone also comes with a clear soft silicone case, which means I can still show off my phone's fancy color while keeping it protected. As for everything else, the phone offers up to 12GB of RAM and up to 256GB of UFS 3.0 storage, maxing out at $749 and thus making it the most expensive smartphone from OnePlus. It comes with a 4000 mAh battery, and so far it has lasted me for over 12 hours of normal usage. I'll elaborate further in my written review. The 30-watt warp charge adapter gets me from 0 to 100% in about an hour, which is super fast. Haptic vibration was a bugbear of mine with the 6T, but this time round the 7 Pro doesn't have this issue, and I don't think I've missed any phone calls so far. But what is it missing? As per usual, there's no Microsd Expansion, but you do get dual nano SIM slots. There's also no 3.5mm headphone jack nor a USB-C adapter in the box. But OnePlus does want you to consider buying its new Bullet Wireless 2 Bluetooth earphones, and they sound pretty great thanks to the dual drivers and aptX HD codec. It's hard to find major faults on the OnePlus 7 Pro. The company took a risky approach and sourced more advanced components to give itself ammunition to help it stand among, if not stand out against, all the other smartphones. While the 7 Pro isn't the first phone to use a 90Hz AMOLED panel, it is the first with such a high resolution. Likewise, the only other smartphone that has speedy UFS 3.0 storage is the Galaxy S10 5G. Most importantly, the 7 Pro's cameras are comparable to those on the other flagships, but it faces the threat of Huawei's P30 Pro, which offers 10x hybrid zoom plus an AI-enhanced night mode. There's also Google with its cheaper Pixel 3a devices, which offer almost the same superb main camera as their flagship counterparts. For those who have the money, OnePlus sure hopes they will bite at that silky smooth screen, and it's a truly unique feature that goes well with OnePlus's famously slick software. Even with a higher price, the OnePlus 7 Pro is still hundreds of dollars cheaper than the competition, so it's definitely worth considering. If you've enjoyed our video, feel free to hit subscribe and stay tuned to Engadget for more in-depth smartphone reviews.